found so far, some of the 3-bedroom units are only 700 square feet.
Yeah, and one of the things, like I mentioned earlier, years ago, you had families that qualified for 5, 6, 4-bedroom. The time had changed. Some rooms, you have one person in a 4-bedroom. So once you do the right sizing, then I think a lot of those would go away. And then you have to look at it, we're not sitting there saying that everybody's gonna come back. So therefore, when a person get their voucher,
They will all have the
they have a
opportunity
right to return.
come back under the PUD. Right.
But
The
you guys
PUD,
said-
let me be very clear. 143 units will be reserved for the current families.
Exactly.
The PUD does not bring people back. The PUD ensures that there is a unit available for them to come back to.
No matter
But
what
what
HUD
we're,
says.
what we
Yes,
want to ensure,
exactly.
what we want to ensure, and that's our jobs here,
Yes.
is that everyone have that specific right to come back.
Everybody will have a unit to come back to under the PUD. Now,
But
whether or not you get a subsidy from HUD or the Housing Authority is a different, that's an issue and a process outside of the PUD process. But you will have a unit to come back to, even if you don't get a subsidy from HUD.
It just means that you will be paying a lot more.
Well, they're all gonna be affordable, no, they're all gonna be affordable units. And the way it's written in the PUD statement right now, they will be at the affordability levels.
as they are currently paying.
The current affordability levels. Now, if people are there and they're getting subsidy when they shouldn't be, that's a different issue, and that's really separate from the zoning process.
That's not our.
That's separate from the zoning process.
Okay.
But we are committed to have everybody come back at their current affordability under the PUD.
And that's a guarantee for all of these people,
Yes, it's
that if you're in unit now, guaranteed, you're gonna be offered a unit when the building is complete, no matter what the qualifiers are.
absolutely, the unit will be reserved for you. It's your option to come back to that unit.
Yeah.
No,
No,
the
that's
unit-
my
But that's what we're
No,
saying,
no, no,
and
let
that's
me
what,
be very
that's
clear.
what.
The unit will be there whether or not they qualify. Now, how they
We need this.
pay for it, the subsidy that they're entitled to through the HUD process is not under our control. We will provide the unit at their current affordability levels. That is clearly stated in the application statement. Now, if they're getting a 30% voucher right now, and they don't qualify for that, when they get certified, that's not something we can control. But we will have the unit there for them, whether or not HUD gives them a subsidy for a 30% unit.
If they are not allowed to come back for whatever reason, is the Sursum Corda group going to buy back their
No.
share? What happens to their share?
There will be, once we go through the rezoning process, it's contemplated that the property will be sold. There will be a disbursement to the members, but with that, in addition to the disbursement, they will have the right to come back.
So the disbursement will happen before the building and getting people back in. They're gonna receive a monetary value for their share in the present Sursum Corda. Yes
Under
or
their
no?
current, yes, under their current arrangement, yes. Based on their certificate of membership, correct.
My last question right now, Pierce Street, is it a city street right now?
It's not
It's not a
constructed
street.
right now. It's not built.
Oh, it's Pierce Street is not a street.
That's what the city would propose to us when we was meeting with Office of Planning. They had already had a plan in which before we even came in to take place under the previous board, they wanted to open the old grids back up, just like L Street go through, Pierce Street runs through and cuts down from First Place to L Street to M Street.
Okay. Is that your presentation? So this is-
Yeah, we're here just to answer.
Any other questions from commissioners?
Just a request for a clarification. So, the current 143 families,
Yes,
in the process that HUD and DCHA will undertake will receive enhanced vouchers, which will allow them to move not only anywhere in the District of Columbia, but anywhere in the country that they should choose to relocate, and pay 30% of their income. So if those families choose not to return for whatever reason, they continue to enjoy those enhanced vouchers and can continue to live
Right.
anywhere in the District of Columbia, or anywhere in the country, under those same terms.
Correct,
Just want to make sure people understood that.
correct, that's correct.
We will take a few questions from the audience. If you wish to ask a question, we'll give about 10 minutes, and you will have to come around to the mic on this side, and you might as well just line up, because it's gonna, that's the way it's gonna work. So if you have a question or you have a comment, please come around to the microphone and be heard. You will have to state your name and where you live, so that we can have it for the record. Karen, is that correct, Karen?
Yes.
Okay. So is there anybody who wishes to address, okay, come up to the mic, please.
No, we don't, but there is, it's all in the Office of Zoning, the record. If you go to
It's online.
Yeah, DCO.gov. Now, our application number is what is our?
15-20.
Okay, and you can look up.
Okay. If you have a question, you must go around and get on the line. We're not going to allow any questions from the seated audience at this time. Yes, ma'am. State your name.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Marie Guillory, and I'm here as a member of Holy Redeemer Catholic Church, and we are in 6E07, which is adjacent to Sursum Corda. We've spoken to Mr. Durham and to Mr. Glasgow, the lawyer for Wynn and the co-op, so we're aware of what the elements are, except we haven't heard about the latest amenities, so I would be interested in knowing what those are, but not now. But my question is really to the commissioners, and the question relates to the larger issue of affordable housing in the city. We are very concerned about affordable housing. That's our thing at Holy Redeemer Church. And so what I would just sort of, and this is a rhetorical question really, what are you going to do to ensure that the commitment that the city has made to increase affordable housing is a real commitment? Because in the past history is that it has not been a real commitment. The report that the district made to HUD, the comprehensive report, indicated that they had only met their target by less than 50%. And we all know about 50,000 people having left the city in the last 5 years, affordable housing. The character of the city is changing. It's becoming less diverse and less of a great city as a result. The community that we're talking about here is a historical African-American community.
Exactly.
Where Dunbar School sits, where Holy Redeemer Church sits, where Bible Way sits, where people have lived and sweated and made a living, and we just hate to see it destroyed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Your name,
Hello,
please?
my name is Antoinette Irby Jones. I live at 69 L Street, Northwest, in Sursum Corda, where I've been a resident for 40 years. And that's home for me, as well as a lot of my neighbors. We have people coming and going all the time, but there are a lot of us who are chief cornerstones, and most of them are here tonight. What I wanted to ask was about a person who's been there as long as I have. Say I move out with the voucher system. Do I have to stay, or do we have to stay in Washington, D.C. for 2 years before we can travel anywhere other than here? I mean, is it a stipulation where it's once you get your voucher, you can't leave the city, you have to stay put for 2 years?
It's 1 year.
It's 1 year.
So I need to know why, because,
Truthfully, I don't know the answer to that,
okay.
and I will happily find that out and pass it on through your commissioner, who is either Antonio or Alfredo, I don't know which one of you has.
It's Tony.
Okay. And let's find out for sure exactly what that requirement is.
I
It was
appreciate
my
that.
understanding, if you had a voucher, Naomi, maybe you know this, that you could go to Maryland as well.
No, that's not true.
Alex raised that point, but I think the question, I'm sorry, I said, Alex raised that exact point. What can you do with an enhanced voucher? And maybe there's a distinction, but I'm wondering if it has to do with this project, your
Yeah.
right to return if you leave the district.
This process that you're referring to is
Is not
well
there.
outside of the
It's not,
zoning.
yeah.
It's not part of the architectural plan, it's part of the city's responsibility to those people who live here.
Then I believe
Ma'am,
Alex-
I will
I
find
believe
that
Alex is
out.
correct.
Thank you.
I will get that information to Antonio,
Okay.
and then he can pass it along
I
to,
would greatly
um,
appreciate that.
okay?
Because it's good to have clarity. And one more thing I wanted to ask, for families who've been there since the beginning of Thurston Quarter, back in 1969, early 1970, that's how long I've actually been on the property, and back and forth. After all the years of investing time, of living there and trying to help keep the neighborhood up, say for some reason, the opt-out option has passed. Thurston Quarter is torn down. Once they rebuild and it's time to come back, we don't qualify, or one of our neighbors we know been there since the beginning, can't come back and can't qualify for HUD or housing or any other aid to get back in with their only pay 30% for their rent. What does a person do that can't come back and want to come back but don't qualify to come back for some reason?
Well, that's a big question, and
That's
that's
the
what
big
I've
question.
kind of been asking
Let me
all
help her,
evening.
let me answer that for her. At
Okay,
the end of the day, when you leave, that's what I mentioned earlier about qualifications before, when I started. The qualification come once we get with HUD and DC Housing Authority. They will come in and do an intake with each individual. Once they do that intake, you will know where you stand as far as qualification, how much they're gonna pay on your subsidy, all that would take place. So the question is, if you talking about going somewhere for 2 years, that means you have to stay here and receive your voucher and qualify for your voucher.
which you should get before they tear
All
down
that would
Thurston
take
Quarter.
place before anything happens.
So, just one quick question, I'm gonna sit down. I got a lot of questions.
Those are questions that we should ask
You
later.
know, my
Okay.
opinion, my
All right.
opinion,
I'll ask you later.
ma'am,
I'll
my
ask
opinion
later.
is, the folks from Sursum Quarter who have these kinds of questions
Yes.
should ask Antonio to set up a community meeting and
Okay.
have those folks who address these issues within the city government to come and actually address this for you.
Okay.
We're guessing, we're giving you answers we think are correct. I don't like to do that. I think it would be much better if you got from the horse's mouth.
I appreciate that.
Well, let me
Okay,
just
we'll get with
clarify one
Antonio.
thing. There is
But
no-
if this is
Yeah,
not
I'll
in
be
your,
back.
if this is
No,
not
but I
in your.
want to say one thing related to the redevelopment of the site. Under no circumstances will the property be demolished and people are not set up through a voucher system or an alternate. I mean, that's the members that voted to have this PUD application done are not going to vote and have a process that is contrary to their interests. So, I know,
So-
so what I'm saying is, this is not a situation where people are gonna be put on the street and.
It's not so
property is
much being put
raised.
on the street. I think that the questions that I'm hearing is,
You only-
how are they gonna find out if they are allowed to come back? And what will they qualify for? And I think that needs to be done through
That's what I
someone's,
asked. That's just
is
what I
that, that's
asked.
exactly what you're
That's what
asking,
I-
right?
And a lot
Okay.
of us
Because-
don't.
because
We need to know.
Just a show of hands, how many people are in that same boat and need answers to questions about whether you're personally gonna qualify, or you're not gonna qualify, or how all that hand, just a quick show of your hands so that we know whether we need to have a community meeting with the city folk.
Okay, let me help answer.
Okay.
that. You have 4 people out of 25 people. And number one, I'm sitting there representing them. I understand you the chair, but in order for you to say what somebody can do, we are governed by rules myself.
I am not-
Hear me out. Hear me
I'm
out.
not saying what
Okay,
they can do.
I would invite Antonio to come and talk to the members with whoever he brings.
Which is the open meeting, because we have to have open meeting.
Okay, I'm not questioning you or your right as leader of
Okay,
the
but
membership.
But this is actually.
I'm just saying that me, Marge, cannot answer some of these questions. I don't know the answers. And I am suggesting that the community ask its ANC representative to set up a meeting so that these questions that they may not want to ask in front of you, they may want it under a community meeting where their name is not being, noticed and whatever. I think that that's kind of what you're suggesting, is it, ma'am?
Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
Okay, Antonio, could you think you could deal with
We
that?
have
That's-
requested
Okay.
that actually to
Thank you
Commissioner
so
Barnes.
much.
Actually, I just spoke with him. I've been trying to get a room at Walker Jones, but it's kind of, it been booked for yoga, but he.
Whenever he wants, I'm the site
Excuse me, excuse me.
I'm sorry, you're the site manager for where?
RH Terrell Recreation Center.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Whenever he wants to have his meeting, I'm on it.
okay, great.
Thank
you.
I'm sure he'll be back to you on that,
Madam Chair.
yes.
And due respect, I do represent these families. So I respect what you're saying, but it has to be a buffer. You can't sit, you can probably suggest what you would like Antonio to do. I respect Antonio as an ANC, but it is boundaries. So my thing, if he has something that he want to set up, we often do a single-minute district meeting with him.
Yes.
Hasn't been set up. So those are questions that these people can come and make their suggestions. But to set up a meeting and say in front of somebody might not want to say nothing around me, to me, I think that's not true. But at the end of the day, set up a small area meeting with Antonio, and any member that wants to come can come. He just can do it at Terrell, Walker Jones, or wherever. But don't just dismiss him.
I'm not dismissing you, nobody's dismissing you, but there are a lot of people here, and what I'm seeing is their heads are bobbing with the different points that are being brought up, meaning they don't have those answers, and they're not comfortable.
Madam Chair,
That's all I'm suggesting.
And this is my problem. You have 199 units.
Well, everybody don't feel that way.
Excuse me.
Everybody don't feel that way.
Those folks that
I
don't,
know what's going on.
if you know and you're
That's why I
happy with
didn't
it,
get up there,
that's
'cause I know
fine.
what's going on.
I'm not suggesting
But I think
anything
you're going-
else.
I think you're going beyond.
Madam Chair, I will say, when we met with Commissioner Barnes back in September, we offered to have a smaller meeting with the members of Citizen Forum. We thought we were gonna have it within the week.
Can you kind of talk
Yeah, I'm
out,
sorry.
because they can't hear you.
What I was saying is when we met with Commissioner Barnes back in September, we suggested that he host a community meeting to address these type of questions and concerns. Our thought was that that meeting was gonna take place before now. It didn't, but, the most important thing for us is that the members get the correct information. And so we are working with HUD and DCHA, and will provide information as it becomes correct information. With the reason, we're very careful to make sure that the members are properly informed, and which is why we wanted to make sure there was a community meeting before this.
As we just spoke about, I couldn't find nowhere,
Okay,
but as I just said, he said he would help.
okay,
So that's how we will have the
Right.
meeting.
Just put on record that
So
we have
that's-
monthly meetings, so
Yes.
that's all right.
yeah.
Okay, and that completes pretty much your presentation.
We are done, we're just
Okay,
here to
thank
answer
you.
questions.
Okay, thank you very much. We have to move on to the
Thank
next.
you. No questions.
More questions?
Yeah, I got two quick questions. My name is Randy Kiesler, and I'm also from Holy Redeemer. One is for the development team. I was just curious, who's paying for you're gonna demolish the property before it's sold?
No, no, that's
Not
not
gonna-
correct.
Okay, so you won't demolish the property, and will the development team be responsible for that cost, or is that gonna be when you sell it, that whoever buys it will buy it and have to then demolish the units?
Whoever sells, whoever buys and develops the property.
Okay. Second question I had was, I was a little confused about, you were talking about the 143 units. They're going to be affordable, there's going to be vouchers, but the vouchers, if people have the vouchers now, they can go somewhere else. They could leave the city with those vouchers, they could go to somewhere else. And so my question is, the 143 units, will they remain affordable
Yes.
into the future?
Under the small area plan, we're required to have 199 affordable units.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're quite welcome. Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. Moving along, I'm sorry that 251, we're going to ask you to just take 2 minutes. Apparently our police officers that were missing before have arrived, and they will be asked to be extremely brief. So 1D, want to step up, 1D?
Yeah, I'm leaving. Because I could have stayed on with this. That's why I get off my phone.
Just pass it around.
Bye, Frida.
Okay, do you want to speak into the microphone?
I respectfully ask the rest of the audience to please, if you're leaving, leave quietly so that we can continue the meeting. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Sergeant Martello, I'm from the 1st District. Am I getting over? Am I coming over now? Anyway, I just wanted to come over here and introduce myself. 1D pretty much just covers the Sursum Court area of the ANC, so that's why I'm here. I don't have any stats right now, any hard stats. We just switched over to a new system called Cobalt. And my analysis person's having trouble picking up specific stats for specific areas right now, just doing the transition and everything like that. But I have a fairly good idea what's going on in the area, so I figured I'd address any questions, any concerns anybody has, or anything as far as crime in the area or anything like that.
I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Martello, Sergeant Martello, yes.
Okay. Well, we've been having a couple of issues in certain quarters where people are coming around and shooting. Do you all know who's doing these things?
Not specifically. I mean, obviously you know about the homicide that we had, not this weekend, but last weekend over there.
Right.
That's still an open case. Homicide's working on it, but they're, things are slow, kind of getting information coming in with all that. But yeah, they're definitely working on it as far as that goes. But no, we don't have any like specific people that we know of that are actually doing the shooting over there.
Okay, so can we get, so would it be officers staged in the area due to the fact that these shootings are happening?
Yes.
And they're happening late at night when people are trying to get some sleep or something like that, and things like that. And I mean, we haven't seen that much police presence from 1D since. I mean, we have seen you all step up rounds, but some people, we are actually like scared now.
Right.
I mean, you have people coming shooting, and we don't know really what's going on. And if I'm not mistaken, we had an individual who was raped.
That one I'm not aware of. I mean, maybe you know more about it than I do, but
I can't.
do you know when this was?
It was during the nighttime, but I can't remember the time. But I emailed Lieutenant Murphy
Yeah.
to find out more details on it, and the stabbing that occurred.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't know anything about the rape. That's news to me, and maybe it happened on a different shift. I primarily work the evening shift. We usually check off around 10:30.
Okay.
So it was happening later than that, but I try to keep up with what goes on in the other shifts. But that one I wasn't aware of.
Okay.
As far as the stabbing goes.
Yeah, because it happened on M Street. You all, it was blocked off on M Street.
Do you remember what night it was? Okay, I'll look it up in the system when I get back, because I'm kind of curious about that myself.
Okay.
But yeah, we do have obviously patrols in the area. We have a couple different areas that we hit specifically, but Surson Court is definitely one of them. The other, we also hit the shelter in a couple other places. I know that's not in your ANC right now, but yeah, we do have people in Surson Court, and we've also had like our power shift step up through there. They normally work about 7:30 at night till like 2 in the morning. That's usually their hours. So we do have power shift going through there as well. And usually I have at least 1 or 2 units that stay in the area. Now usually when we cover the quote-unquote Surson Court area, we also cover the rear of 1200.
Okay, right.
I know it's not specifically Surson Court, but it's all kind of,
But it's still my.
yeah, so the same units will patrol pretty much all the way up to New York Avenue, all the way down to K Street, and kind of cover that whole area right there.
Sursum Quarter is not your only area. I mean, my single-member district is completely in 1D.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I was led to believe that.
No,
Oh, okay.
just so you know, there's
Okay,
a
I'm-
whole bunch of other areas that are included in the 1D section.
Okay, all right.
But, okay, I just wanted to make sure you knew that.
No, I didn't actually. I was told that this specific area, that Surson Quarter was the only really area. But what other, I mean, same,
Well, Mass Avenue to New York Avenue,
okay.
Mount Vernon Square to at least 4th Street is all in 1D.
Oh, okay, okay, all right.
Yeah,
Okay.
very good. Question for the officer in 1D?
Yes, I would like to mention the corner of 7th and P Street, where the Kennedy Playground is.
Okay.
There's a bus stop there, and every day that bus stop is closed.
Ma'am, hold on just a second, because that's not this office's area.
That's 3A.
It's 3D, right? So I'm afraid that Officer Berlin would have been the correct person to ask, but I don't think you can address any of those issues, can you?
We don't normally, we look at the stats from the other districts. We got enough to.
Right, okay. We'll get back to your question, though, in just a moment. Any questions for the officer from 1D? Okay, thank you, sir. Look forward to seeing you next month. Officer 5D, right? Okay, why don't we hear from you?
How you doing? I'm Officer Kuka with 5D.
So we're narrowed down to 2 blocks. So I represent 5D that is across the east side of New Jersey Avenue over by Dunbar High School, and it ends at the park.
Right.
So is Brian or Justin still here? Anyone from my, oh. All right, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. I live right by the park on Morgan Avenue, Main Street, and Kirby. And New York Avenue and Kirby, that block of land where the library used to be.
Right.
From that liquor, the carry out right there on New York Avenue, that alley that sits right behind it, my home is right there. We just get crushed. We have the guys sitting out in the parks all day drinking, like they're on New York and Kirby. We have the homeless population that leaves the shelters in the morning, and they walk down Morgan Street every day and they're casing the street every day. My car was broken into last week. My neighbor's house was just almost tried to be forcibly robbed about 2 weeks ago. Kirby Street just gets smashed. I mean, cars broken. Like, what can we do about coordinating with some so others might eat, which is on the other side of the park, and then B, coordinating with the shelters downtown to kind of have some of this traffic directed off of our street. I think that B, we need to have police officers sitting on the street in the morning when the homeless population gets out. When they're coming up on your porch, when they're coming downstairs into my porch, my home was broken into, it cost me $2,000 to get the door fixed because they destroyed the door frame. So, like, what can we do to make it known that, hey, we have police presence here, B, we have police, we have the community that's involved. But I mean, just that little strip of territory, we need some lights at that park. Like, there needs to be like a police substation right there on the corner. Like, it's just insane right there. We're getting hit by the students who are robbing. I mean, so we're getting just like that one little section, N Street, New York Avenue, New Jersey, and Kirby Street. It's like a crime zone, and then everybody walks across the street and they're in a whole different district. So what can we do we need to see you guys on a regular basis in the alleys. We need to see you guys at 5 o'clock in the morning when the homeless guys are getting out. We need to see you guys, like, really, there needs to be a presence because so much crime happens in just this, and this has been going on for about 3-4 years,
Right.
nonstop. And so now it's upticking again because it's getting cold, holidays are coming. We had our packages stolen off the door the other day from Amazon, so it's going up and up and up as the weeks go by. So what can you guys do to give us a little bit of a break, especially with those guys sitting from that carryout right there to the park right there on Kirby in New York?
Yeah, I mean, that is a hot little area. Basically, it's hidden, so that's why all that traffic, they like to go back there and hide. But they are aware of it. I know recently they're trying to assign like some of the specialized units to kind of go over there and have more police presence. But I'll pass that on to the day work officers that come in at 6, because they're usually so focused on the actual, was it on Old Street where they're usually over there, they might not be aware that they're coming over, so I can pass it. I'm on the evening shift, but I'll definitely bring that back and pass that to.
Yeah, I think they need to know that definitely, coming from the shelters downtown, they don't walk New York Avenue. They cut on M Street and they cut on Morgan Street and they walk through the park to get to some. So there needs to be some coordination with some, and there needs to be some coordination with the people who run the shelters downtown, and there needs to be some coordination. There's just no coordination at all.
So let me just piggyback, I'll bullet point it for you. Commander Fitzgerald is well aware of that alley, he is well aware of what goes on there, we have talked about it ad nauseum, we are done. So that church is fed up with the shitting, the peeing,
Every
the
day.
vagrancy, it is a
It's
nightmare
insane.
in literally this 1 block radius. Mr. McDuffie, who's the council member across the street, he is aware of that empty parcel of land, that's gonna be fixed, but as far as the police, you have got to be present. There is zero presence, that's it,
No.
there is zero presence.
Right.
Y'all need to be there. And my guys constantly calling, and I go up there, call, but you know what? You guys aren't there, that's it.
Yeah, that's
it.
Like I said, I'll pass that on to the day work officers.
That's just sex and drugs right there.
Yeah.
Like, they sit there, they watch, they're casing the street is what they're doing from the park. So at night, even though the little gate that's supposed to be locked, those people, they jump the fence and they're sitting there, they're drinking, they're doing drugs just all night in the park. So any park is sex and drugs. That's what goes on in any park, anywhere in the United States. So you guys really need to make your presence known. And I work all hours. So I'm sometimes just sitting outside, just kind of looking to see what's going on. And there's always traffic up and down the street, never any police. Never.
I mean, don't be afraid to call. You can call anonymously anytime.
Yeah, I mean, dude, by the time,
We call.